Have you ever been in a place where you start speaking with a high ticket prospect and all of a sudden you just feel like you're completely mismatched and you're not on the same page? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you something called perceptual positioning, and it's an NLP technique that can take your game to the next level. What's happening, FlowChat Connector? Sean back at you with another high ticket tune-up. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to talk about something called perceptual positioning, right? Perceptual positions. Very, very powerful. It was prompted by a question I had from Alfred. Alfred said this. He said, Sean, I never seem to get on the same level of my high ticket prospects. Any thoughts on this? And as I dug deeper with Alfred, what I found is that he was going into these conversations and he was just talking about his own stuff. He wasn't going into their world and asking the right types of probing questions and getting to a place where he could actually find the pain. And so in this video, I'm going to share a couple of secrets. I'm going to give you some framework and then a couple of tips of how you can use this specific technique to close more deals in high ticket sales. So let's get to it. Big screen number one. Here we go. What are perceptual positions, Sean, and how do they work? Well, perceptual positions, the first thing I want you to think about is Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was one thing that made Bruce Lee almost better than any other martial art. Of course, he put the time in the practice. He had some natural abilities, et cetera, et cetera. But if you look inside of Bruce Lee's mind, one of the things that you would find is when he was studying an opponent, he would do this technique all the time. And what he would do is, here's the order of perception change thinking. This is how Bruce Lee was so dominant when he fought, right? The first thing is the pre-planning stage. So before Bruce Lee went into a fight, before you're going into a high ticket sales conversation, same thing, right? Bruce Lee would think about his enemy that he was going to face. Typically there was one big boss and he had time to think about that person for a long time. And he would start to think through all the stuff that that person would be thinking and feeling. And this was before he even went into the fight. This led into the convo. For him, it was the actual fight stage. For you, it would be the convo stage. And here's the kind of the similarity. When he got into that fight with that person, that big person, and he spent all this time like pre-thinking about that person, their life and everything else, he understood why that person fought the way that they do. Just like you, when you're in a high ticket sales conversation, one of the things we need to think about is what that person is struggling with, right? What that person loves, believes, has value around. And if we understand that before we even go into the conversation, we've already built rapport and gotten into this NLP place where we can talk at a level that's already on their plane. And then the last stage is buyer's remorse. How do you eliminate this at the end? Right? And so that's the order of perception change thinking. So as a sales professional, there's three areas that we need to be focused on. Number one, and most salespeople struggle with this because they're in a rush all day long. It's okay. It's not your fault, right? Like life comes at you 10 million miles per hour. But the thing that you have to remember is you need to take a little bit of time before your call. Do the research, look up the prospect that you're about to speak with, understand their world, get into their place. Like what are the things they're struggling and challenged with, right? And don't even worry about what the products and services are that you have, because when you do this, you're going to match the rapport level immediately, and then you'll be able to really dig into what I call the personal impacting pain, right? And when we get there, we can be very, very comforting in the fact that we've already talked about some of these hard issues for that prospect. So here's kind of the how, right? Because obviously I want to give you the how before we get out of here. That's what this is about. Stick with me to the end. So here's the how. First and foremost, you want to set your unconscious mind to think how they do, right? So this is a little thought exercise that you can do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, usually 15 minutes before a high ticket sales call. Give a little bit of focus to yourself. It's okay. You have permission to do it, right? I'm giving you the permission to do it. And then set your unconscious mind to think how they do. Put yourself in their position. What are the things that they're striving to do? What are the things they want to achieve? Where's the goals they're trying to get to, right? And work to understand their beliefs, their values, their problems, and their benefits. And then you can walk two paths. Now, I'm going to give you a true example of something that I did yesterday, right? So I was speaking with one of our members of our software company, and she's at her basic level. And she has now had an influx of business because of FlowChat has been just cranking for her, and she's really, really winning at a very high level. She needs to expand her team. And so in order to expand her team, one of the things she needed to do was, hey, I need to do the done for you services, because right now she was just offering kind of a mastermind situation. And so she's moving to this done for you service. service. And so before I got into this call, I thought to myself, like, here's somebody that started their business, a couple years ago. And then just about 7 months ago, it really started to explode. And then now she's in this place where she's like, oh man, I've never done the done for you work. Well, I have. I've actually had that experience before. And you don't have to have the experience. I'm just sharing, like, in this world, I had the experience of what it's like to do done for you work at a very high level, very high ticket. And so when we got in the conversation, I immediately set my mind to this unconscious way to think the way that she did. And in the conversation, what I was doing is I said, hey, look, like, let's talk about the path that you're about to take. I know my software can totally smash for you, and there's like 7 ways we can do that. But what's important before we even get into that stuff is let's talk about what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to feel about it. And I said, so then I started asking her questions about done for you work. Have you ever tried it? What was your experience? What do you think about it? Are you excited about it? Are you fearful of it? And as I was asking these questions, of course, I'm gathering her beliefs and values and some of the problems that she might foresee, and then even some of the benefits that she get at the end. And then what I did is I walked down what I call the bad path first. I said, you know what? Done for you could actually suck. Here's the things that'll probably bite you. And I went list after list after list, and her eyes got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden I was like, but check it out. That's just a little bit of it, because here's the benefits of doing this. And then I walked the good path, right? Start negative, go to the positive. When you're explaining something like this, it will totally change your world. And I said, here's the great parts of done for you work. This is what it means. This is how it feels. This is what's going to happen. This is the benefit. This is what you're trying to do. And then I asked her at the end of all that, I said, look, we covered the good and the bad and the ugly. And so now tell me, is this still kind of the path that you want to walk? And then when she said yes, I was like, okay, here's how we can use our product or service, FlowChat in this case, and put it into your world and make it sing. And immediately she was like, yes, let's move forward. And so that was one of the ways that I was actually using perceptual positioning in NLP in high ticket sales in order for me to shift my conscious mind, be able to have that conversation with her. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. So again, the couple of things that you got to do is just remember, take a little bit of time. Let me go back to the slide before this one, because that was the one that's valuable here. So you just want to take a few minutes and in the pre-planning, 5-10 minutes before your call, get into their shoes. As one of my sales coaches used to tell me, he said, Sean, walk in their moccasins, put your feet in their shoes. What are they struggling with? This is the pre-planning stage. When you get in the conversational stage, ask about those things. Very easy to do. And then when it comes to the buyer's remorse, when you've talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then you have this pathway, you're like, yeah, this is the answer. Like, that's it. And when you get back to your office, you're probably going to be feeling like this. So when that happens, here's my number. Give me a call. Right? That would deal with the buyer's remorse. Again, in that fact, it's like, here's the extra service that you can get. We can continue speaking, something like that. And this will allow you to use perceptual positioning, NLP high ticket sales technique, to bond and rapport and connect, and then actually close more deals. With that said, I hope this has been helpful. You've just been tuned up. And here we go. Good morning. Love your tune-ups. Pre-planning and putting yourself in the customer's shoes is important. There you go. So thank you for that, faithful Facebook user in the house. So with that said, you've just been tuned up. Please smash the like button, this love button, share this out to somebody else that needs it, because this is a very powerful technique. And when you use it correctly, you will close more high ticket deals. With that said, I can't wait to see you tomorrow.